For the videoing to get better. Welcome, we are live. Welcome to the 25th London Accessibility Meetup. If you want to tweet about us, our hash code is A11Y London. A11Y is a shortened version of accessibility. This is the 25th London Accessibility Meetup. It's a really big day for me, so I was the head of accessibility at Government Digital Service. Today was actually my last day in government. I'm joining the accessibility team at Apple. It's also it's the last meetup that I'll be kind of hosting for at least the next 6 months or so. I will still be attending. We've got budget, we've got the venue, so they're absolutely going to keep on happening. I'm really happy that Andy is going to take over as the host and looking for speakers and those sorts of things. So yeah, do you know?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Really grateful to be taking over from Al. Got massive shoes to fill, so just hope we can keep the meetups going as strong as they have been going.
So do if you've got ideas for talks, do get in touch with Andy. Also, I want to say a massive thank you to Raf as well. He's going to be working his magic in the background to make sure that we all continue as well. So actually, our next meetup is in 2 weeks' time. So Marcy Sutton is over from the States, and she's going to be talking about some writing accessible code. So we're really excited about that. Something that I do every month is do a hands up. So can I get a hands up if this is your first time attending the meetup? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So probably about 20 people. So I counted about 55 people. So just under half the room are here for the first time. Hands up if you are a regular. So that's about more than half. That's good. Hands up if you are a designer. So that's about 10 people. Hands up if you are a developer. So that's about 10 people. Hands up if you are a content person. So that's about 10 people. Hands up if you are a user researcher. About 5 people. Hands up if you are an accessibility professional. About 10 people. The maths don't ever add up, but it's just an approximation. Hands up if you work in policy. There's that for Tony. There's 1, 2, 3. Hands up if you do something else. Okay. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for coming. We've got a really exciting lineup today. So one of the things that I am most proud of that's come out of GDS with regard to accessibility is the Empathy Lab. I tried to set one up when I worked at the Money Advice Service about 5 years ago, and we nearly got there, but we didn't quite get there. But Richard and Annika have made the Empathy Lab at GDS this amazing thing, and they're going to be sharing what it is and how it works. This is also an opportunity for me to say a massive thank you to Richard and to Annika. I've been working with them now for a couple of years. They have been kind of hugely influential and supportive and have done amazing work in accessibility at GDS. So if you can put your hands together and just say a massive thank you. And hopefully, like, the Empathy Lab is just one of the many things that they've done, but you'll just see how impressive some of their work has been. We've then got another talk to help you kind of, like there's kind of different ways that people can learn about accessibility and barriers. You can provide assistive technology, you can do kind of empathy type things. Some people are quite critical of that approach. The other approach is to actually kind of speak to people that have these lived experiences and find out from them. So we have got both information about the Empathy Lab, and we've also got a first-hand account of living with albinism and a range of visual impairments. So hopefully these two talks are going to complement themselves really well and could kick off a really interesting discussion afterwards. We're going to close at 9 o'clock. We're going to go to a pub called the Sir Christopher Hatton, and if you'd like to join us for drinks and a bit of networking afterwards, that would be amazing. Want to say, oh no, okay, so we're using an app called Slido.com to ask questions. We had some feedback that not everybody likes putting their hands up and asking questions. We will still take questions from the room, but if you would prefer to just ask questions via an app, go to Slido.com and enter the code 5734, and you'll be able to ask questions, and we will get questions from that. I'd like to say a massive thank you to Barclays. So Barclays have been sponsoring us for quite a long time now. They help us to cover the food, the drink, the live stream, the videos, the captions. So a massive, massive thank you to Barclays. We would not have the quality events that we have if it wasn't for Barclays. Huge thank you to MyClearText who provide the speech to text. Put your hands up if this is the first time you've seen live speech to text. Cool, I think you'll be impressed. Huge thank you to Meetup Video that do an incredible job of providing the live stream and getting kind of videos of the presentations to us really quickly after the events. And a massive thank you to Sainsbury's, to Raf in particular. I think this is the best venue for meetups in London. We've been having them here now for a year. And yeah, they are continuing to provide amazing support, great technical support, great hospitality. So huge, huge thank you to Sainsbury's and to Raf. Tiny bit of housekeeping. Toilets, if you head towards the lifts, the ladies' toilets are on the right, the men's toilets are on the left. We don't have a fire drill planned tonight, so if the alarm goes off, it's the real deal. So we will all make our way out in a calm and orderly way. And big ask is, can you take any litter with you when you go? Please don't leave any cans or litter here. Sainsbury's have let us use this amazing venue. We need to leave it in the same condition as it was before we came. And with that, I will stop my waffle. We will move on to the talks. If I can say, yeah, just welcome Richard Morton and Annika Henk to the stage. Huge round of applause. All about the GDS Empathy Lab.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Government Accessibility Empathy Lab, which we've built over the last few years. We started very small and we've built up from there, and it's become very popular, and hopefully some of you will be able to visit it if you haven't already. I'm going to use the laptop. So, first of all, we're from the Government Digital Service, part of the Cabinet Office. Just to let you know what we are, we help government work better for everyone by leading the digital transformation of public services. So we provide a lot of support for government and more increasingly for the wider public sector because of the new accessibility regulations. And particularly from an accessibility point of view, we're one of the teams of accessibility specialists in government. There are a few around different parts of government. So a bit about the history of the Empathy Lab. As I say, we started it nearly 3 years ago. We started with a couple of laptops, 2 Windows laptops in fact, that we used to test and make sure that government elements were accessible. So the government elements and patterns are things that go into government services, transactional services, so things like how do you do form controls, how do you do check your answers, those sort of things. And we did a lot of testing on those to make sure they were accessible. And those have now moved into what's known as the government design system. So there is a whole new setup, and those have been tested against the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines version 2.0 and going to be tested against the new version of 2.1 to make sure they're fit for purpose, particularly for the new regulations and the fact that government requirements now say you must meet WCAG level AA version 2.1. We did some research. We ran a discovery back in 2016 to find out what government departments needed from an accessibility point of view, because we knew there were some gaps, we knew there were some things needing addressing. And what we found was what we expected really, that there was a lot of work we could do on improving awareness of accessibility and assistive technologies, providing resources in terms of guidance and training and just general resources. So when we moved to our new office in Aldgate in 2017, we had a space set up which Al pushed hard for, to get this space within the building to allow us to build an Empathy Lab. And we started small with the 2 Windows laptops. We added some more equipment to it, so we added some mobile devices. So in particular, an Apple mobile phone, a tablet, an iPad, Android, and a MacBook, in fact, to make that more complete, to give us more of a sort of broad range of things to test against and raise awareness. We've added some other devices more recently, including a switch device, which is quite interesting to show people. People often don't know what these are, and it can be used to just simulate what it might be like to use a device you might suck or blow into or activate with your cheek to operate things. So it can be used to operate whole systems, whether that's on a desktop, a laptop, or on a mobile device. So we added this, and my picture there, that's just a little tribute to this picture of Hampus Sethfors, who was talking about this, saying he used this for a day to try and work out what it was like, and wrote a blog about some of the experiences of using a switch device. So that's quite interesting. So, the assistive technology, that's a big part of the Empathy Lab. Obviously, we wanted to highlight some of the things that people use and to get people to be able to use those, to test with them, to try them out, and to demonstrate them. And we ran a survey to find out what people used when using government services, and we found pretty much what we expected. We got a good idea that people used JAWS screen reader, for example, very popular, Zoom Text, and Dragon. So we got a list of things that we knew people use. So for example, screen readers on these laptops, we've got JAWS, we've got NVDA, non-visual desktop access, we've got VoiceOver, which is obviously built in on the Mac and on the iOS devices, and we've got TalkBack screen reader on the Android devices. We've also got screen magnifier, Zoom Text, which is, again, the most popularly used screen magnifier. There's also built-in screen magnifiers within both Windows and Mac devices. And then from a voice recognition activation point of view, Dragon, naturally speaking, is the obvious one that most people use. It's mostly on Windows, but it is available on Mac as well, although I don't think it's any longer supported on Mac. But there are actually also built-in voice controls on both Windows and Mac, which can be used. We haven't done much in terms of testing, but they can be used, so there's freely available tools as well. We also got a set of visual impairment glasses to demonstrate some aspects of visual impairments, and we got this set from an organisation called Visual Impairment Northeast, a charity. It's like a little suitcase full of glasses, and these glasses have various aspects to them that can simulate some aspects of visual impairments. But what they don't do, and what we tell people, is they don't simulate how this might be for someone on a day-to-day basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just to give you an idea of how things might look and how you might have to adjust how you access things. So, for example, there's this, which is, it shows a sort of patchy vision, which might be something like macular degeneration. There's another set here, which simulate tunnel vision by having small pinholes. So it's a very small peripheral area of vision. And you can see what this might look like if you look at something on GovUK. There's a very small area on the screen there. You can see just a small number of links on the page, and it's difficult to find your way around there. We did want to make the whole lab become a dual purpose thing. As I say, we started out with the purpose of testing. We moved on to raising awareness and empathy. We tried to make sure we could do all that at the same time. And we have, as I say, visits, people coming to talk, to listen to us talk about it and go through that. And we show them both aspects of that. So from a testing point of view, we're thinking about compatibility. So compatibility with platforms, so whether it's on Mac or Windows or the various mobile platforms. Obviously the different browsers people use and the assistive technologies people use. From an empathy point of view, it's more about awareness of accessibility barriers, issues and technology. So highlighting some of the issues that people might face when trying to access any kind of services online, any kind of digital services, and the sort of ways they might address that using the technologies, the assistive technologies, or adjustments, things like that. But what we didn't do, and we decided early on, was we're not going to do this for user testing or user research. You probably couldn't tell from the picture earlier, but the lab is kind of an open area in a corridor. It's open and noisy and lacks privacy. And that was deliberate because we wanted it to be open and available for anybody to come and visit and use, and just people walking past, teams to be able to use as and when they needed to. So yeah, no privacy, bit noisy, so it wasn't suitable for user testing. We do have a test lab at GDS, which is a separate facility. And there is the other aspect of testing with users using assistive technologies that can be very difficult. If you're trying to get someone to come in to test things on your equipment, chances are they're going to have different settings. They might just have something as simple as a slightly different keyboard layout that causes problems, or it might be things like the different voice engines they're using, or just the settings they've got. And you can spend a lot of time messing about trying to get things set up, which can lead to wasted time and potentially biased results from testing. We did kind of think about the design of the area. I'm not a designer, but we did get some help from that from one of the designers at GDS who helped us with a lot of that. We started out very agile, so just a few posters and labels, things like that. And then we added a few things like cheat sheets, so lists of screen reader controls, lists of the gestures you can use on VoiceOver on iPhone, for example. So as I say, we've got a design to help improve things with things like new area signs, higher contrast, better quality. Some statistics on permanent disabilities, and we've got several of these in the different areas, but we always highlight the fact that these are just about permanent disabilities, and we shouldn't just be thinking about permanent disabilities, we should always be thinking about temporary and situational impairments and disabilities as well. We did things like labelling the devices to make them easy to identify. And then starting on what we did about visits. So to start with, we decided we were going to make it available to people as much as possible, and it is open to be visited. We've opened it up to anyone basically in the public sector, and that is because of the new accessibility regulations in particular, because everyone in the public sector, apart from a few exceptions has got to make their websites and documents and things accessible. So we wanted to open it up to the public sector, particularly to be able to support the needs of those for the new regulations. We started with a fairly ad hoc visitor process, and it was pretty informal, but we found we needed to refine that because there's only 2 of us running the visits, and it's just a part of our day job, if you like. It's not our complete day job. So we had to restrict it in some way, and we had to make it efficient from our point of view, but also efficient from the point of view of people visiting. So we offer an availability calendar so people can find out when they can visit, and we try and make it as easy and frictionless as possible for people to come and visit. Most of those visits have actually been from government departments and organisations and local authorities. Now obviously we're London-based, so most of those have been local London-based authorities and government organisations, but we have had people come from far afield, from Wales and North, Manchester, Liverpool, places. And this is sort of just a graph of the visits from July last year up to January this year, indicating the number of requests we get, which is more than the number of visits. We can't always satisfy the need for visits, and some do get cancelled and rescheduled. But it's gradually increased over time, and we're still kind of, as I say, restricting it in terms of numbers, but we'll talk a bit about that later. Interestingly, we keep some stats on visitors who come, and the majority of visitors were content designers, closely followed by user researchers. So there's a lot of interest from content design, user research, but we get people across all different disciplines. Some other stats: 86% used it for learning, 72% for empathy, and 60% use it for testing. So quite a lot of people come in and want to actually look at something they've built or some of their live services just to test them, and that's varied from some very ad hoc testing, people coming in and just exploring, to people coming in with a whole test plan and actually going through things in quite a formal way. Obviously, any kind of new service, new setup has its challenges. It was challenging initially to set up the space and to get the equipment. GDS is a mostly Apple environment, MacBook, so Windows laptops are kind of outside the norm, and it was quite difficult to get hold of 2 laptops. It was even harder to get one with Windows 7 and one with Windows 10 on, because we wanted to run different versions of JAWS, for example, on the different laptops. But we got there. Costs can be a barrier. The Windows laptops typically probably cost around £2,000, including the hardware and the assistive text software that we've got on there. We've got JAWS, we've got Dragon, we've got Zoom Text on each of those laptops. We kept a log of visitors just for stats. So we had a spreadsheet of people coming, but also people actually visiting the lab, and that includes people hopefully internally who come and just tick these boxes to say what they've used it for. It's a statistical thing really, just to find out how usage is going and whether we're doing the right thing, whether we need to change things. One of the things we learned was we need to nail everything to the bench, or more succinctly, this sort of thing. So, which is a picture of a hammer and a nail and a lightning cable. We didn't literally do that, but we did find we had to fix things down. We put locks on the laptops and things like that. We didn't expect anything to be stolen or anything, but things do get borrowed. And what we've found is it isn't the laptops and the devices that get borrowed, it's the cables. People borrow the lightning cables on a regular basis, so we've had to be fairly agile and put things like this, so it says stop, don't remove cables. We've also found, because of the number of Kensington locks and cables, USB cables and headsets and things like that, it does get a bit messy, but nobody's really complained about that, so maybe that isn't that important. You know, obviously we don't want it to be untidy, we want it to look nice, but it's more important that it's functional and that people can use it and do the things they need to do. And as I said before, there is a limitation that it's mostly just Annika and myself doing the visits, hosting the visits. We have had a couple of people volunteer to help out with that, but not on a regular basis. So we are trying to get more people involved in that. Another slight challenge is just keeping it up to date in terms of maintaining the software, the operating systems. Excuse me. Fortunately, IT support just let us get on with that. They don't have to be managed devices and things. But we do have to try and keep things up to date on there. There's a slight problem sometimes when people come in and they want to test something like a prototype, and they come in and they haven't got credentials with them, or they've got to sign in to get them. So we always encourage people to bring those with them, make sure they've got those. And also, there's often a case that they've tested it in their own environment, but they've got they might have the IP addresses whitelisted, so they are restricted in where they can run it. So we encourage people to make sure it will run on a public network, which we use at GDS. There's a whole other challenge around administration, managing the calendars, spreadsheets and emails, and we're getting some help with that now from the reception at GDS. And I'll now hand over to Annika to talk about the personas.
Well, as Richard mentioned, the Empathy Lab has two different purposes, one for testing and one for empathy, and I will talk about the empathy bit, basically. In October 2017, we published 7 different accessibility personas, basically made up people who just and text about them, which just makes it easier to think about users with access needs. Those 7 personas had different types of access needs, or really a huge variation of them. And so we wanted to do something more practical with them, not just having text somewhere, but doing something more practical. And what we did is we created logins on some Chromebooks, so you can experience the web as those personas. So we've usually done 2 things. We implemented something that would simulate the condition they have, or can also be multiple conditions. And then you also focus on using the assistive technology they would be using to help them overcome certain aspects of that condition. This is a photo of the 3 Chromebooks. So we have, at the very right-hand side of the lab, we have 3 different Chromebooks, and there we are logged in as various personas. This is what it looks like when you log into one of those. So actually you have, on the right-hand side, you have all of the personas ready. You just need to log in. And this is an example. This is Simone. Simone is dyslexic. The simulation of her condition is that the letters are scrambling. We don't mean to say with that dyslexic people necessarily see it like that. We just want to make it roughly as difficult for people to read without dyslexia as it would be for people with dyslexia. Simone uses a slight tint, so instead, usually the background is white, but she makes the background a slight yellow in this case. That helps some dyslexic people, not all dyslexic people. There are various kinds of dyslexia. And she also uses a special font that is, I think it's even called dyslexia friendly or something like that. And it's, again, it helps some dyslexic people to read, not all dyslexic people. And there's some kind of ruler on the page that helps, especially when there are long lines of text that help you find your spot, which line you're actually reading. And this is Pavel. Pavel has Asperger's and anxiety. And the way how we try to simulate that is you constantly get lots of different messages that try to simulate him being distracted all the time. Oh, what is this noise? What is that? Oh, maybe I should eat lunch, I'm hungry, and all of that. And it's also trying to be distracting by the words just moving in and out of the screen. And one way how Pavel tries to, something that Pavel has that helps him a little bit is that he tries to make the colors a bit more soothing. So we've added some posters that makes it clearer what this actually is. It includes, basically describes who the personas are and has some kind of information that helps people to understand how to use the tools. You might ask, why Chromebooks? Because we first tried it on Windows. That was our very first automatic thing, because most of these people, these personas, would be using Windows. But it was really difficult. It's like switching between the profiles took, I don't know, 30 seconds or a minute. It was really difficult. While on a Chromebook, it's literally just a second. It's so quick. Some of the tools were quite buggy. They were crashing all the time. The setup and the maintenance costs a lot of time, while because on a Chromebook everything is in the cloud, it's really super easy. And as soon as you've updated one on one Chromebook, the others update automatically. And also the setup is not easily transferable. We wanted to take this and give this to the world in an easy way. And if it had been on Windows, I think it's possible, but it's really, really difficult and very technical to do something like that. So the biggest benefit of this particular setup is that it's really easy to replicate and share, which is exactly what we've done. So we've set up some web pages. There's the URL alphagov.github.io/accessibility-personas. And that's where we then have basically and that's multiple things. We have set up we were describing the setup. So if you follow that setup, you can have the very same setup. I said the word setup too often now. And we have mostly, so we're using Chromebooks, but we thought, not everyone has Chromebooks, so we also tried to do the same with just the Chrome browser, which works mostly, but not completely. There are some things which are not as good. And we'd love to also go further with this, because Chromebooks and Chrome is all the Google world, and it would be good to get out of that as well. So there might be something coming as well. And we blogged about it, and so far it's been one of the most popular blogs on the accessibility blog. But you have to be cautious about a couple of things. So first of all, this is no substitute for testing with real users. It's just the best experience that you can have, and understanding various access needs and what kind of problems that might cause with your website is watching real users use your website. It's just the most valuable thing to do. And although this gets you sort of a little bit into that direction, it's not the same. Also, a simulation is never a true representation of an impairment. It's only just trying to get close to it, but it can never be the same experience. And obviously also, as Richard said earlier, it can never be telling you how it is to have that experience, actually not just for 10 minutes that you're going to test, but actually for your whole life. And it's not appropriate for compatibility testing. Not many people with access needs actually use Chromebooks. They use what we have on the left-hand side of the Empathy Lab. So because the majority of users use JAWS as a screen reader, for example, and the Chromebooks use Chromevox. So that's also something to keep in mind. Because the layout of the Empathy Lab is quite open, it means you can just play around with things, and we try to make that bit really visual and I guess engaging, and that's much easier with these Chromebooks. But having a structured approach is often helps people introduce people new, especially new to accessibility. Many people might be too afraid to just try things out. They think, oh, what is that? That's weird, I'm not touching this. So we've done 2 specific things with these already. We've done something that we created something that we call Persona Mini Training. It's some short training exercises. They're designed to just last 10 or 15 minutes. We've created bad example pages. We've created pages that have intentional accessibility issues on them. And we ask people to do only 2 tasks on them. And we have these tasks on all the Personas homepages. So here's one example. Unfortunately, I cannot show it to you because it would be really a spoiler. You have to do it yourself because that's the best way you learn. But yeah, it was working, or it is working really well. People said it's eye-opening. They were blown away, and they now feel empowered to visit and use the lab. But it also really shows how it's often our design choices which disable people and not necessarily their impairments, especially as you see these bad and good examples side by side. One that causes problems and the other does not, just because it's designed in a more accessible way. There are a couple of challenges there. We had trouble getting people to sign up for this internal training. And it's difficult to do with more than 2 people because it's relying on experiencing things yourself. And if you have lots of people around one laptop, it's only one person who can experience it. Maybe it's still useful to see someone struggling, but it's more useful if you struggle yourself with these tasks. We're also still working on them and iterated them a couple of times. We haven't tested all of them, but lots of them. And there's still some training missing for 2 of the personas. The other thing we've done is persona testing. We created some typical task for a specific service, or rather it was a user researcher usually who does that. And then we involve the whole team. Everyone chooses one particular persona, and then they do those tasks for 1 hour, just 1 hour. They write notes, and at the end, we discuss those notes and our findings. There were a couple of challenges, but it usually went quite well. So you need accessibility specialists to help interpret the results. So Richard and me would be there after that hour and would talk through with the people leading that, because often people who are not used to assistive technologies would pick up things that are no accessibility issues. They just don't know how to use the tool. So that's one example that happens a lot. So we need to then tell them, yeah, actually that's not an issue. That was fine. And also the screen reader and speech recognition persona, they both need a bit more help, an introduction in the beginning. Although we found that speech recognition works really well. People only need like less than 5 minutes and they just keep going, while screen readers need a bit longer and you need to help them throughout that hour. The biggest benefits really are that, well, it's more engaging than just an audit report. You have experienced things yourself. That is just trumps all things. It involves the whole team, not just the one person who knows a little bit about accessibility, who's usually then there to fix things. It raises awareness and understanding. You test accessibility issues really early on. It's because it's so easy to do. You can do it more often, and it's really quite efficient. And it works even well with people who don't know anything about accessibility. So this is us actually. that was our very, very first testing session. Where we see, well, everyone is doing one persona. I think we have nearly all personas. And so far we've done 5 sessions. And in our very first persona testing that you just saw, we found 9 definite and 5 potential issues, which is actually really quite good for just 1 hour. And team members wanted to come back. They wanted to try out a different persona, or wanted to retest things after they fixed things. So that was really very successful in that respect.
Okay. Yeah, so what's next? We've got some ideas of what we want to do next. We want to obviously improve things, make things better, make it more useful. One of the things we've thought about is whether we should have some instructional videos that can help people get to grips with understanding how to use the assistive technology. We're not sure about that yet. It might be difficult to do, but we're thinking about it. We will probably do some further layout improvements, tidying up, and possibly need more equipment at some point. We might try and come up with a more elegant way of nailing things to the bench. This is an example from John Lewis, actually, and most phone shops have this sort of stuff, and several people have gone in and asked people in phone shops, where'd you get your phone equipment from? And the shop assistants really aren't interested, they want to sell the phones. So there's another example of that, how that works. So it's nice because it includes the charging of equipment and stuff, but that's kind of a nice to have, you know, and maybe we won't necessarily go down that route. What we do want to do, though, is we want to encourage people to set these up themselves. And I keep telling people you don't need a lot of money or equipment to start this. You can start with something as simple as an old Android phone. Just put TalkBack on it and test with it. Or an old Windows machine you've got. Anything. You can start with whatever you like. You can start small. And obviously the Chromebooks illustrate that you can start things with an inexpensive piece of kit without spending any money or much money on software. So we want people to share their experiences with us. We want to learn as well, and we know that other organisations, both in the UK, government and elsewhere, are setting up empathy labs, so we want to learn from them as well. We want to hear your experiences. So I'm back to Annika.
Yeah, and how we want to handle the visits, really, because, you know, we're just 2 people. We would love to have more empathy labs in the public sector. We need some internal help as well, which we started to do, to like train people up to run these sessions, the visits as well. And we really should get a feedback form after each visit, which I wonder why we haven't done it yet, but it's such a standard thing where we haven't got around it yet. And for the personas, so there's still two personas are still missing that mini training. We still need to add that, and we need to test it more. And adding some alternative setup, which I mentioned before, maybe, you know, just with Firefox, for example, that might work. And we should encourage more people to do this persona testing, because it was so successful that really every team would benefit from that.
Yeah, so we're trying to make resources available to do this, and Annika has posted quite a lot on the blog posts. Al posted about how we built the Empathy Lab, and all the blog posts are, well, some of the blog posts, some are on the GDS General blog, but a lot of the blog posts are on the accessibility blog, so we'd encourage you to go there to find some of these resources. And so here, for example, is the one I was just talking about, using persona profiles to test accessibility. So, thank you very much. Over to Al for questions.
So we've got 3 questions on the app. If you have more questions, please do ask away. We will run a microphone round as well. So let me start with the first question. So do you make use of the visual impairment glasses for persona testing, and are they otherwise useful?
For the persona testing, for some reason, we initially intended to use them for particular Claudia. Claudia is visually impaired, but she zooms in, and what we found is we cannot actually have a simulation, because when you have a simulation that sort of blurs the screen and you zoom in, the blurring gets worse as well. So you also zoom into the simulation, which is why we initially thought we would just use the simulation glasses, but in the end it wasn't actually necessary. But lots of people actually choose to use them. They think, hey, yeah.
And people have certainly used them on the Windows machine when using Screen Reader, because we haven't got it set on there so it blurs everything out. So people often wear glasses that blur everything out so they can only see perhaps the colours on the screen. Yeah, we've done that.
Can the Empathy Lab Persona demo be used outside the government lab?
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, it's open source. Actually, we've open sourced the documentation about how you can set it up yourself, and the mini training is part of that.
So basically, because if you've got a Chromebook, you can download the profiles and...
You cannot download, you have to set it up, but it's very, very easy to set up. By the way, I've got my... We don't have one of our Empathy Lab Chromebooks with us, but I have my personal Chromebook with me, and I've got the personas on there, so if anyone wants to play around with them, well, I guess I will be here and my Chromebook is there. So.
Why would you not use the personas across the devices?
Across the devices? That goes back to, it was so difficult to set it up on Windows. It's even more difficult to set it up on the others also. Not all of the personas would use phones the same way, for example. I think it theoretically would be a good idea, but it's really difficult to do.
Cool. We've got a question from Neil. Charities will be a great partner for additional Empathy Labs, particularly those involved with older people and disabilities. Do we know who has them already?
I don't. Do you?
Yeah.
So we know that HMRC has set up an Empathy Lab up in Newcastle, and they're planning to set a few different ones around the country.
Yeah, I don't know if any charities have done it. No.
NHS are looking at setting one up.
Yeah.
CRUK must have one, I'm sure. There's going to be some of the big charities that definitely will have one, I would imagine.
So basically, because if you know of any Empathy Labs, or if you're planning on setting one up, so I know that Simon from British Airways is here, they're thinking of doing something. I was chatting to Amazon, I think they're planning on doing some stuff as well. So do come and share your experiences. It'd be really interesting to find out how people are getting on and how they're doing it.
Also, I know there's a website for device labs, that's sort of a database of all the device labs in the country. I forgot the URL, but it would be great to have something similar for Empathy Labs.
Yeah. Last question from here is, the Empathy Lab helps people identify accessibility problems in design and tech. What's the next step? How does GDS help people discover the solutions?
Well, we provide a lot of other resources as well around guidance for organisations to make things accessible. We're trying to build up the training that we do. We run introductory training, and we're trying to build up things like the persona training, so we'll be doing more of that, I guess. And we're trying to come up with more role-specific training. So we'd ideally like to be doing things for designers, things for content designers, stuff for developers. We have done some developer training before. We'd like to do more of that.
So I think it's also worth mentioning the text-based profiles on gov.uk. They actually have lots of solutions in them, and they, for example, explains that one of the most common issues with websites for screen reader users are forms not being accessible, and then that links out to the gov.uk design system that has accessible versions of forms. So it's kind of like a launch pad to solutions. So that's all the questions on the app. Did anybody have any questions that they wanted to ask that they haven't asked? So I will do a quick... okay.
Hi, Annika, Richard. Thanks for a great chat, or rather, presentation. On the checklist earlier of reasons why people use the lab or organisations are using the lab, what were the more popular reasons?
So I guess the main point about those statistics were that they were quite close. I think testing was lowest with 60-something percent.
60%.
And the others were like around 70 or 80. But
Yeah.
so that the interesting thing is that they were relatively even, and we were quite surprised by that. But, yeah.
Yeah, it's not an exact science recording all that information. We always offer people an introduction. We ask people how much they know about accessibility, and some people come in with quite a bit of knowledge, some very little, but they're always keen to get a good understanding of what we've set up and how it works. Yeah, so it is, a lot of it is about empathy and awareness, I think. Yeah.
Bryn.
Thank you. Hi. Thank you very much for that. It's a fantastic initiative, and I'll definitely be taking it back to the company that I work for, which is Site Improve, to talk about that, because it's a super nice thing to demonstrate when we have clients who come in to help them understand really what the whole thing is about. A lot of people that we talk to accessibility about are really, really new in that whole sort of in that topic, in that domain. So I think this is a fantastic way to sort of get people on board. My question was, you talked about like 66% were coming in to do testing, give or take. At what phase how far along their deliveries was the testing being conducted? Was this at the end of a project, halfway through, wireframes? Do you have any information on that?
It's very, very different, because we get a very broad group of people from all over. I guess, I think the majority probably gets there towards the end. It's unfortunately the common thing.
Yeah.
But we get all sorts.
We do get people coming in with prototypes, early stage prototypes. We also run clinics separately, and we get people coming into those, and they're often more the sort of very early stages of wireframes, graphic designs and prototypes. But yeah, we're getting quite a range, really. Yeah.
We're also getting quite a range of what people already know. And what I found, if people don't know much about accessibility yet and they came to learn more about accessibility, they usually go to the right-hand side of the Empathy Lab and just focus on the Chromebooks, because I guess it's easier. While people who already know a lot, they focus on the left-hand side, they actually want to test.
Cool, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? So Richard and Annika will be around in the break and stuff. So if you do have further questions, do go and chat to them. And as Annika said, she's actually got a Chromebook, so you can hand over some stuff if you're interested as well. Please put your hands together and say a huge thank you to Annika. So we now have a 25-minute break. If you want to make your way next door again, there should be lots of drinks left. There might even be some pizza left. If you can be back here for 8:15 for the next talk, that would be great. Thank you very much. Oh, apologies. I don't know. Should I unplug and plug back in?
Hello? Do I need to push anything?
I know.
Hello? Okay, say. Awesome. I have, I don't even know what I just said. I have volume. That's cool. Okay, I had my manager basically knew I was coming here this evening, and I got a message from him earlier on saying, can you please plug our event while you're there? So I very politely asked Al, and he said, okay. So next month, on the same day that you guys are having your next meetup.
On the 2nd of May?
Is it 2nd of May? Have you moved it? I thought it was on the 18th of May.
No, yeah, we've got one on the 2nd of May.
Ooh,
so we're not having
okay.
It. Yeah.
So next month on the 18th of May, 16th of May, let me get my dates right. 16th of May, when I thought this was happening, I thought you had a meetup in the evening. 16th of May, it is Global Accessibility Awareness Day, and the BBC are once again having a whole day of talks in London and Salford that will stream out to the internet. We're also welcoming people to come, so if you're close by, you're more than welcome to get a ticket and come along and sit in and enjoy that day with us, or just watch it online. Go to, if you follow at BBC A11Y on Twitter, the details will be getting posted there imminently.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Now, without further ado, let me scroll through. I've known Bryn for quite a while now, and Bryn has been massively supportive of the meetup, has kind of offered to help out when we first started, and has been really keen to talk since the start. So really excited to have Bryn and his sister Rose sharing some of their lived experiences and sharing with you some barriers and things for you to consider when you're designing stuff. So yeah, over to Bryn and Rose.
Lovely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I was really excited to talk, and Alistair's not joking. I've been really hounding him to come and talk at one of these events, and I think that that's also born out of this idea that I had, you know, growing up, that one day, you know, I would, you know, people will, there will be a way, a technology, an empathy lab, you know, where people will get to see what it's like to experience life through my eyes, you know. I don't mean that in like a sad sort of violin-y way. I mean it in a, you know, that's going to be cool, you know, because people will then understand what it's like. So, I mean, it's a bit of a mishmash tonight, given the opportunity. It's like, well, what should we talk about? And I thought I'd invite Rose to talk with me, because it's then a bit more of a dialogue, a bit more low-key. Hopefully you guys feel comfortable asking questions as well, as opposed to me, like, you know, sort of doing a scripted thing. And I don't know how to do a scripted thing anyway, so that's what we're doing. So I think I'll just begin, and you will learn who we are throughout the presentation. I do have one request though. It's like the most minor of audience participation pieces. I would just need someone to write something on a piece of paper that I've got in my laptop bag. Big, it's got to be big. Let me just grab this thing. And the thing that this lucky person is going to write is going to be read out, hopefully, by me. So can I have a volunteer? I need 2 volunteers. One to put their hand up and write something, and the other one to spot who they are and take the paper and pen to them. So it's sort of the worst type of audience participation. Yeah. So just nice big bold letters, fill the paper.
A single word?
Give me
It's
something
up
that
to you.
resembles a number plate. That
Well, no, it
kind
doesn't
of
have to
thing.
be a number plate.
No, but that's what.
It'd be good. Yeah, it
That
could be
sort of letter
random
size.
is good, because you know, I might recognise it. I might recognise the word pattern, which would give the false impression that I can actually see the word properly, and we don't want that, right?
No.
Okay. So, right, so albinism. It's a funny thing. So I was in Romania. I was going to the dentist, as you do, in Romania, and I went into the dentist, and it's a bit like it was like someone's house, which is a little bit disconcerting. But anyway, we heard lots of good things about it, and I didn't just find it on the internet. My partner's Romanian, and she recommended it. Anyway, so I'm in there, and I go to the front desk, and she says, "Oh, the doctor will come and meet you." So I'm waiting at the desk, and the doctor comes out, and he looks at me and he goes, "Silus." And I said, "No, it's Bryn." And he's like, "Silus, Angels and Demons, Da Vinci Code." Right? I'm like, fuck it. But, so yeah, so if you haven't seen the Da Vinci Code, this is what he was referring to. And really innocently, and I was not offended at all. Although, you know, I mean, at time, I mean, if that happens, sort of similar thing happened to you? You had that?
It happens less
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, less to you, right? But yeah, maybe there's more male. There's Powder. Do you remember that film? Did you
Yeah.
ever watch it?
Didn't watch it,
No, I
but
didn't
I'm
watch
aware
it.
of it.
Aware of it, yeah. And this one here, O Draconius Devil, right? That's pretty deep. So yeah, so it's a weird thing, right? There's loads of stereotypes about albinos, and they generally get portrayed in a sort of negative, like evil, certainly odd, weird role. And this was one of them. I can't remember the next slide. And this doesn't show me on there either. So this is the bloke, right? He doesn't look anything like me, except for he's got blonde hair. And there's also another problem with this image, Rose. Do you know? Can you tell me what's wrong with it?
Well, he looks like he wants to shoot the gun at someone, which is a little bit of an issue.
Bit of a problem for
With us with our
albino to
bad
shoot a gun.
eyesight.
Yeah, you definitely don't want us
And lack
anywhere
of depth
near.
perception.
Yeah, really, really not good. So this is poor research, right? Character research here. Right. Do you know who this guy is? Does anyone know who this bloke is? Scooter. Oh my goodness me. Right. So I used to live in Vienna, and I was in a club. So I love that. It's just it's absolutely off the wall. So it's Bristol Scooter. No, I'm not. But it was kind of flattering and also a little not so flattering at the same time. But so I don't really know what that's about, But there's this whole like blondness thing, right? That people just seem to think that you're the famous blonde person that I know.
Yeah.
Did you get one? You have
I
something?
used to get Gwen Stefani.
Gwen Stefani, right. Was she blonde?
I think she was at one point.
At one point, yeah. And you were not blonde several times?
No, I used to dye my hair.
Yeah, okay. Gwen Stefani, that's pretty good.
Yeah, better than Scooter.
Better than Scooter, yeah. It's not a competition, but fair enough. Let's see if I can get past this guy. Oh man, he's stuck with it. Right, okay. Does this look familiar? Nah. Keanu Reeves? Nah? All right, maybe this will jog your memory. It's from The Matrix. Took the inspiration from us sitting in a car in Walthamstow, right?
Yeah.
So that's the other one as well. So The Matrix, Scooter doesn't really happen very often, but The Matrix and Silas, or whatever his name is, from Da Vinci Code are definitely ones that I kind of get that people think of. Right, what about this, Rose? Do you know
Well,
what this is all about?
I believe this is Tanzania.
Oh, that's pretty specific. Is that because we rehearsed?
Yes, that is because we did skim over the slide.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, but when I showed you this the first time, you were like, huh, and you had to think about it, and you also arrived at Tanzania, right?
Yeah, with a bit of prompting of maybe where was one of the worst places that you might want to go on holiday if you're an albino.
Yeah, because albino bones are at a premium, and you could, for witch doctor use within what do you call that? Witch doctory.
I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but yeah, it's always been somewhere I just not keen to go. Maybe
Zanzibar. If you want to get to Zanzibar, you've got to go.
All right. Well,
yeah.
it's all right.
It's off the table. So, but it's a real thing. It's not a mythical thing. It's well documented. Yeah. So the albino bones, little fingers, in particular. So, yeah, it's kind of. Maybe it's funny. Maybe it's funny for us. Maybe very disturbing when you're hearing it for the first time. So we'll just move on from that one. Growing up, right? Because what happens when you grow up, they're really sort of defining years, right?
Yeah.
And you learn a lot about society, subconsciously, and people's reactions towards you. And there's certainly a lot of innocence when you're a kid, and you get older, and it sort of gets shattered, progressively, right?
Yeah.
To everyone though, not just for someone who's maybe looking a little bit different or has a disability or whatever. But yeah, growing up, we'll sort of go through the stages. This is a very sweet picture of me and Rose when we were kids, and we're wearing glasses. We're not wearing glasses now, and that's not because technology has sort of moved on. It's why is it? It's because they don't really help us.
Help, yeah.
And they correct a little bit of the vision,
We've both had reading glasses at times. I've got some reading glasses. I don't even take them into work very often, and they're very thick. Actually, we've got some bits here. So whilst we're talking about this, we're going to pass a few bits round. These are more fields, right? So they've got to come back.
Yeah, they need to come back. Everyone's more fields
we'll start there. That's a magnifying glass.
So the smaller ones are for looking long distance, and it's a monocular, so you just look at one eye, because we only see out of one eye at a time.
And this guy.
And obviously the magnifying glasses are magnifying glasses.
So imagine you're a kid and you don't know what the hell that is that I've just given to you, and you try and figure it out. I know you have just kind of explained it, but I wasn't really listening. But basically, yeah, monocular, that's one eye. The reason that we've got a monocular, not two, is because we can only look out of one eye at a time, right?
Yeah, and we can't see very far, so that's why we have the monocular.
In the first place.
When I was younger, I used to use it for stuff like going on school trips, looking at pictures in art galleries, that sort of thing. Theoretically, using it to read what was on a blackboard or something like that. In reality, though, you don't really want to be getting that out.
No.
In school.
Don't want to get
trying to blend in.
No. I mean, No, you don't want it. It's just not. No, that wasn't. Maybe that's more of a personal thing. I've kind of probably take a punt on the fact that it's not, and that a kid just taking out this monocular or big magnifying glass going around the room. Do you know what I mean? You don't really want to do that. But they do work. People use binoculars in the opera. You can blend in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go there. Season ticket holder. Right. What else do we want to talk about the eyes? So the albinism, it's got some common traits. There's different types of. There's ocular albinism, so it has a lack of pigment and the eye conditions, but doesn't have the lack of pigment in the hair and the skin. But the albinism that we have, I believe, is a kind of common form of albinism.
I believe so.
I believe, yeah.
Ironically, I don't think either of us know that much about the technical side of it, but basically it affects our hair with a lack of pigment, so it's pretty white, light. Same with the skin. We also burn very easily in the sun. In terms of eyesight, we only see two-dimensionally, so we have no depth perception, and I'm not sure why exactly that is. Something not being formed properly due to the lack of pigment and this recessive gene. And then the nystagmus, which is the rapid eye movement, which just affects, as far as I know, how the eyes can focus. It also, I've had lots of people assuming that I'm very high on acid or something like that, which is a classic one. It's all right.
Let's have a look at that. Those acid eyes.
Yeah.
Right. It's bit intense there with the nose. But if you can notice that if you can see this, but my eyes are moving, right? And if you get close enough to me and to Rose, then you'll notice that the eyes are moving. We're not taking LSD constantly, despite what some people have thought. I also got the LSD thing.
Yeah. And you also see on this video, so one of Bryn's eyes is actually going in slightly. It tends to cross. I had surgery to correct mine because I'm a little vainer than Bryn.
Well, I'm catching up. I'm also thinking about the surgery as well, which is an interesting thing because it's just I suppose we're up here talking about it, but it doesn't mean that we're not self-conscious. You were saying, "Oh, should I put my fake tan on?" Because you like the fake tan, right?
I do use fake tan, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like the fake tan, but I was saying, well, you should do whatever you feel comfortable doing, whatever you do normally. I don't know. It's kind of you're kind of caught between trying to hide stuff and show stuff off. It's a bit of a weird one, but we'll come back to that anyway, right?
Yeah, and I think just to say as well that as well as the lack of depth perception, we're also very sensitive to bright lights, especially daylight. And it's not that we're either long or short-sighted, we just have crappy vision at both ends of the spectrum.
It's just all rounder.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
round rubbish.
All round rubbish, right? So who's written the lovely message that I'm going to try and read? All right, in the back. Right, Rose, can you go and get it?
Good one.
No, all right, okay, all right, I'll go and get it. It's at the back. Okay, I'm not going to look at it because that'd be cheating. But I'm going to look at the floor. Yeah, lovely stuff. All right. Okay. So this is to try and show you, people don't get what we can and can't see, and I must admit, it's very hard to explain. Like Rose said, we're not, it's all round rubbish. So I'm gonna.
Just so everyone else can see.
If you turn it over this other section the other side, Tom.
Does it matter?
Apparently.
Which one do we go for? This one, maybe? All right.
Can anyone see? Some people see that. Some is good. All right. I definitely can't see that. So I'm going to. I can see a white paper. I can see some black letters. I kind of know that's what I'm looking for, so that's helpful. And if I start walking in closer, I'm trying to read it. So possibly an E, definitely. T and O67. So that's to give you an idea, right, of what's going on. Of course, if the letters were bolder, then maybe I could make them out a bit better from a bit further back. But that is a problem. Reading things up close, I've got a bottle here. It's the Highland Spring water. It's got some small print under there. I don't expect you to see it, but it's just typical small print. Not a chance. No way in hell can we read that. Take the phone out, take a picture. If you want to be seen taking pictures of Highland Spring water bottles to read the labels, which, again, it's a sort of, I shouldn't really care about that, right? But somehow I kind of do sometimes. But like shopping, right? If we're going shopping, you want to know how much something is, you could ask someone, you could take a picture of the label.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can.
You can, yeah, okay. Let's move on. Come on. What are you doing? There we go. So blackboards, I mean, I don't know what it means. It's just a Google image, but it was a bit like this when we were growing up. It might as well have been like this. It was very difficult to be academic. I'm not, there's loads of artists in our family, so I'm not even sure we've got any sort of, the right genes for that type of thing, but coupled with the vision impairment, we really didn't thrive in the classroom.
No, definitely
environment.
didn't thrive.
No.
Quite the opposite.
When did you dropped out of school?
I dropped out of school pretty much when I was 14.
14, yeah.
That was partly my personality as well. But I do think not being able to see and engage, and after constantly sort of putting my hand up saying, I can't see, and just never really getting the support, I definitely lost interest.
Yeah, and I think in a similar way, I actually did persevere. I went to university as well, and I did very sort of hands-on, more practical stuff as opposed to sort of theoretical stuff like media studies. I don't even think you can do that as an A. Someone told me you can't do that as an A-level anymore. And I did art. It's all subjective. Anything you do is fine, right? What did I want to say? There was a good point to make in there. So I actually had to compensate for, to fit in, I basically acted up. And I think that's very common for kids that have, a disability, basically, right? So if you can't, you have an option. You can, like you say, put your hand up and explain to them again, try and explain to them again, because you don't really know why you can't use glasses to fix the problem. Or you can just choose not to participate and just, be like a, whatever, class clown or, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So, and that was good fun. I really enjoyed doing that, but I didn't learn a huge amount. And that's why I did the whole art thing. But I really think that it's the participation, when you can't participate, which is maybe one of the underlying sort of points of this whole discussion, is there's like emotions that come with that, like rejection and inadequacy and shame and things like that. And that happens really at a young age, you know. And definitely for me anyway.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. Okay. Daily grind. All right, get ready. This is what we've not past 9 o'clock. It won't stay there for a long time. It's happening. Boom. Look at that. All right. Okay. So quickly get rid of that. What do you do for a living, Rose?
I'm a pole dancer, so
Right.
I teach and I perform cabaret shows. I also dance in clubs every now and again. So yeah, that's my
And this is you showing your
occupation.
guns.
This is my biceps
Yeah.
and me
Some
in my
serious
studio.
biceps. So, and that's me being the opposite, being really boring and not. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, there were clothes on the previous.
Yeah,
rows.
it's fully clothed.
There were clothes.
Fully
There
clothed.
absolutely were clothes. So you know, do you know what I mean? So it's all good. And
Yeah.
but I am pretty boring in comparison. I'm looking at some Jiras, for those of you who know what they are, for a company called Site Improve. And of course, I should have said this, but obviously, this has got nothing to do with Site Improve today. This is just personal stuff that we're talking about. So, but yeah, anyway. And I think it's interesting, the two things, because we're dealing with, I've gone and worked in the field of accessibility, which completely understands my needs, right? And you've gone and taken complete control and you're your own boss, where you've got your own environment, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's, I mean, there's no, you don't have to, I have to tell people when I start a new job what this is and how
Yeah,
that is.
I've managed to kind of find my way in the world in doing things where I don't need to constantly explain, where I'm not expected to read small things, things at a distance, and I can choose my own hours. I also have children, so...
Yeah, the hours is a big thing.
Yeah,
right?
and I teach from home. I've got a studio in my garden, so all of that works very well. I control the lighting in my studio. It's nice and dim, so it doesn't affect my eyes. I have small classes, so I can see what everyone's doing. And what I do, I don't need to see small details. Yeah, and then the other aspects of my work, the performance stuff, the emphasis is on the bigger picture, so it doesn't really matter. I don't have people looking at my eyes wondering if I'm off my face on acids or things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's. I didn't actually think about this until I put the slide together, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting that we've both, you know, it's knowing us, you know, and what we're like, so different ways of dealing with the same thing. And I've worked at Site Improve for 6 years now, and I think that's quite a long time. You know, I'm 36, 6 years at somewhere is quite a while, and I think that, well, it is these days anyway. And now the thought, I'm like, yeah, I'll move any day now, yeah, you know, like, screw this place. But actually, the empathy that my colleagues have for me and the understanding that the business has about the topic and, you know, the whole thing is really big, you know, like going into a new environment, they've got these tiny, you know, they've got the sort of the UX board, you know, and everything is printed out in tiny writing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't engage with that, you know. So that's another factor, you know. You really, on one hand, yeah, I'd like to do what I want, you know, but on the other hand, there are these things that niggle in the back of your mind, like, will you be accepted? Will it work out? Will you be able to see how many people will you have to explain it to? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think we're going to have to kind of, you know, speed up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm saying it for myself because
Yeah.
I like to talk.
You're the talking guy.
So the number 8 bus, I like the number 8 bus because it used to look, in my world, very different from all the other buses. It had a different shape than the other buses on my route. So I could actually spot the bus further away than I'd ever been able to spot buses, right? Because I can't see the numbers until it's gone past. But the shape of the thing, wonderful. So if we could have more variation in the shape of transport.
Or even a different colour.
Different
There's a
colours.
bus that goes there, mine has it has a pink thing on it, and I know that that's a 275.
It's the pink
'cause I
bus.
can see the pink. But yeah, something like that.
I've got Uber, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The Uber, you know, like Uber driver picked me up the day and he put his flashers on. and it was a little bit of a gamble, you know, because maybe he wasn't the Uber driver, but he was. And I said, dude, why did you put your lights on? And he said, oh, so you knew, you knew it was me. And I was like, wow, man, that is fantastic. Have you been told to do that? And he said, no, I just figured it might be helpful. He didn't know anything about me. I hadn't used the Uber Assist. And I had this myth about them projecting lights on to the pavement or something like that, so people would be able to tell that that's an Uber car and it's not, you know, it's not someone else with bad intentions. But you know, like something like that, can they not just put the have, you know, like the Rude Boys, they have the lights on the? Do you not have like a flashing, you know? It'd be really genuinely very helpful. Departure gates in the airport, take a photograph of it because I can't read it. So, you know, if you see someone photographing the departure gates,
it's not just taking the photo, it's
boffin.
taking the photograph and then zooming in.
Zooming in heavily,
That's the
heavily.
key.
That is the key, yeah. Or you could just zoom in, but the holding up and the pinch zoom, it's easier to take a picture. Yeah, menus in the dark. And what's this thing up here?
This is my favourite thing. This is the green line that goes from Old Street Tube Station to Moorfields Eye Hospital.
Oh, yes.
And when I found that, it was very exciting. It's one of the only times that I didn't get lost going somewhere new.
Definitely. It's really, really beneficial. I had a similar thing in Vienna, actually, that led from the sort of central station round to the underground. And it was just a track. You know, airports have them sometimes. You know, even in the, what do you call it? The duty free, when you go through, you know, when you go past the, you know what I'm saying? When you get past security. There's a pathway, it's a different colour from the shop colour. It's the same floor, same level, but it's clearly different. And it's just sort of an easy thing to follow. The contrast is not very good, but it's a sort of embossed green piece of lined cement on the pavement there that takes you right up to the entrance of Moorfields, which is great. So Uber. Let's do Uber in a minute. This is Roger Johansson. He's quite like grumpy, but he says some really cool things. And this is a nice introduction into the technology piece. So he's saying, try to use iPad, iPhone to browse site and buy stuff. Find that the site won't zoom. Go to competitor's site that allows zoom, and then buy stuff. So that's like the compelling, business sense. Of course, we want people to buy stuff, but that's a genuine problem, right? The apps. Native apps that you cannot zoom into, you know, I'm not really looking to use those. I've got a couple of examples, so I don't want to dwell on it also because we've only got 10 minutes left, right, Alistair? Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go over Waitrose because this is Sainsbury's. So let's just skip over that. But I will say, this was a problem, the thing I'm not going to show you, but it's not anymore. So it is kind of pointless anyway, right? Yeah? Good. Let's move on. This is a little bit more interesting. This is the Site Improver, a Danish company, and I have to use the Norwegian Air app to check in, and this is it when I'm zoomed in. As you can see, there's all kinds of weird things going on here. Look at the button up the top. God knows what that is for. Look at the truncation here. Like it's not even truncation. It's clipped. Booking reference 6C, last name as it appear, and then some stuff down there. If I adjust the setting, the font size on here, and go back to the app, all of a sudden, I've even got my booking reference, which was completely missing in the previous screen. So, and you know, there's a load more of these, and I think the slides will go out. Will they? Will people get hands on the slides? Can do, right? Yeah, I'm happy to share these. So maybe we'll take that picture out first. But basically, I won't go through all of this stuff, but the technology is fantastic, right? Because it's not, you know, brick and mortar. Is that what you call it? Whatever. It's not a house. It's not a structure. It's malleable. You can do what you want with it. So it's so powerful, right? Uber, they actually do this really well, you know. This is the two different versions here, and there's barely any difference between the user experience of the zoomed-in version and the non-zoomed-in version. But when you don't allow me to consume the information in the way that I need to consume it, right, with such a malleable medium, that is just bonkers. You know, why would you do that? why would you? I don't come and tell people like, you know, we don't go around there and say you have to zoom into that to do it, and they'd be like, what are you talking about? I'd be like, no man, zoom in. You cannot buy that unless you zoom into it. I mean, that would just be ridiculous, and that is essentially what's happening. The power is there. It's right there. It's just, you know, a finger pinch, whatever, away. And if you can't do it, not just a finger pinching, if things are cut off, then it's just such a waste of such a powerful medium. So let's just go skip over a load of stuff. This is Monzo. I haven't got much money at the moment. Zoomed in. It's an absolute mess. Shame. We spoke about this, and I'd love to talk more about it, but I do want to leave a little bit of time for maybe one or two questions. So I'm gonna skip over it. But shame is huge, and I will go as far to say it's not just me and Rose as, you know, as albinos feeling shame. Like people, everyone in the room has experienced shame. And I think there's this sort of idea that maybe disabled people are on one side of the fence and all the normal people are on the other. And this creates this sort of finger pointing, shaming, which makes it a very difficult topic for people who are not disabled to talk about or empathise with or entertain. So anyway, I'd love to, if you want me to talk about it, I'll talk about it another time. But autonomy, we talked about this. Technology, autonomy, we were looking for something
profound that was beyond just a soundbite. Essentially, though, that autonomy has a benefit for everyone, for society as a whole. If we can be autonomous, that has a knock-on effect across the board.
Yeah, when we can participate and give what we've got to offer, when we're not excluded, you know, that contributes to everything, not just economy, of course, but to ideas and open-mindedness and diversity and everything. And I did try to sort of make some sense out of this. Autonomy, having the freedom to act independently, is massive, right? But also taking that a step further, just having the ability to act in the first place. You know, when you literally sort of side someone down and say, no, you can't do that because you can't see well enough, you're taking away my independence. And if you think about user experience in anything digital, online, offline, you know, that's what we're talking about here. You know, like let me engage how I need to engage, and I will be happy. I will be participating. I will be loyal. I will buy. I will spend, talk, share. Do you know what I'm saying? And without those things, then I just tend to, you know, you sort of go the other way.
Yeah.
So I've actually kind of cut this whole thing short. So there's a lot more content in here, but I think that's probably a good place to leave it for today. But we'd be very, very, very happy to talk to you tonight or any other time, very openly, very honestly about using technology or just, you know, whatever, going about, you know, pole dancing or being a digital accessibility guy. So, yeah, thank you all very much for listening. Yeah.
So we've got a few questions. I'll go through the questions and then I'll take the microphone round. So, does albinism affect your children? How did your parents help you through your challenges, and how in turn do you as a mum help your children cope?
So none of my children have albinism, and that is just a bit of genetic luck, really. You need both parents to carry the gene, and then it's something like a 1 in 4 chance that you'll have an albino child. So we're 2 albinos out of 5 siblings in our family, and I have 3 children, none of which are albinos. Our parents were very much, no one's looking at you, you're just normal, just get on with it, that sort of thing, which is great in some ways.
But then when you're 15, you look in the mirror and you realise for the first time that your right eye is crossing. It's kind of like, oh my God, you know, why didn't they tell me about this? You know?
Yeah, so mixed bag there.
Terrifying experience, but yeah.
Yeah, and what was the end of that question?
How in turn does albinism affect your children? How did your parents help you through your challenge?
Yeah.
And how in turn do you as a mum help your children cope? But I guess it doesn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, my children don't have albinism, but they have all the other challenges of life. And I think my experience has given me a certain degree of empathy. So I tend to find empathising with them through other experiences, school-related, growing up, all quite easy. Does that make sense?
I think so. That's the only question on this one. So I know there's a new one just come through, and then I'll run the microphone. No, we will run the microphone round the room. Question over here. Shall I take one? Do the other? Matthew.
Hi, my name's Matthew. Thank you for a wonderful talk. It really struck a lot of chords with me. I've got ocular albinism and nystagmus. Believe it or not, I used to be mistaken for the Milky Bar kid. And I've still got all my monoculars and magnifiers and large print dictionary from school and everything. I was very lucky to have a lot of support from family and everyone else as well. I just wanted to try out a metaphor that I came up with for explaining to people how we see. I kind of say to people that most people see in 4K and we're on standard definition still. And I wondered if you agreed with that.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's a funny thing, right? Because it's kind of like, I don't even know what it looks
see.
like. So, but I appreciate the thing, and but this is how I used to try and explain it. I'd be like, well, it's like when you, and I'm like, well, I don't really know what that is. So, yeah, I think that certainly
like
makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's cool to hear the solidarity there, all the gadgets and things. Yeah.
Although we can't see you. So.
We can't. Yeah, no idea where the voice is coming from. Yeah.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Completely open to having questions asked.
I have a question about some of those products, and I don't understand some of the technology that well. But when you were zooming in, are there good apps? Are there apps that work well at this?
Basically, I've used an Android Note 8, so it's got quite a long, bigger screen. What's your phone that you're on?
It's like a Xiaomi something. It's
big
really big
thing, almost like a sort of phablet type thing. Basically web apps you can zoom into, like you have your Amazon app, right? You use that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You zoom into that thing?
Yeah, some apps do work better than others.
Native apps, you can't pinch zoom on a native app. So there's built-in zoom functionality on the phone, so you can triple tap, for example, on an Android, and you can adjust the font for the operating system that can sort of tap into the apps, and you get that sort of messy sort of thing that I was showing earlier on. But yeah, native apps, you can't pinch zoom, and that's the immediate thing that I want to do when the font's not big enough. So that's a real barrier. So web apps for me, that's almost a little, I don't like that because it's sort of going back in time a bit, or it feels like that. But that's what's helpful for me. Otherwise, I just won't do it, and I'll wait until I go to a desktop and do whatever it is I wanted to do. Fine, yeah.
There's a similar question that's come through, which is related, which is how would you change either the Monzo or the Uber app, particularly interested in the text resizing strategy? So what should people be doing?
It's a little bit hard for me to answer, and I think that's partly because I spent most of my time building websites and testing websites on desktops and displays that I'm comfortable using, which is a little bit, well, it is what it is. I think I've had a look today at some examples of something that, that is really just factoring that whole need for things to scale at different sizes right from the beginning of a product. So I feel like it's not so much as using another product to make those things more accessible to us. It's about, I know this is a sort of a bit of a cliche for people who come here regularly, but if it isn't factored in at the beginning, it just doesn't, it's not going to happen, like it's not like a bathroom that comes with standards and things like that when you want it built. if you don't factor it in, then it's not going to happen, especially for mobile apps. It's a sort of slightly convoluted answer. I'm not sure if I answer that. Yeah.
Cheers.
Okay.
Any other questions? So,
Bryn, are there any plans to take your talk to commercial suppliers or service providers?
Any plans?
Yeah.
No, I have actually wanted to do this like for universities or in education, for anyone learning early for building websites. But I mean, I would love to, absolutely love to do that. And I do talks sometimes, but it's more geared around like my work and products and things like that, as opposed to personal experiences. But I didn't learn about accessibility when I was learning about building websites, and I thought that was an absolute crying shame, So I would really like to do this at that level, but both makes sense.
I think we'll do one last question, and then we'll need to wrap up because we're 9 o'clock. Was there a question over there?
How do you experience the photography-based social media like Instagram or Facebook?
Okay, I use Instagram a lot for my work. So the text is awful because it doesn't get bigger. You have to triple tap, and then you've got the whole thing you can't see the whole page or the whole screen all at once. You can pinch zoom in on an image, which is good.
But you have to hold it.
You have to hold it,
right?
But it's enough so you can kind of see what's going on.
But not too much. Don't want to see too much. Right.
That's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, matter of opinion, right. But that's very good. Twitter is great, but by the time I've composed the tweet, the whole conversation has moved on. So I don't really like that. And LinkedIn is fine. It's a bit like Facebook for business, I suppose. I certainly don't use those on my phone. Too fiddly.
I use Instagram on my phone all the time, and that's partly why I have such a big phone, so that I can navigate it. Yeah?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That is one of the most open, honest and engaging forms of talks I've heard. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Will you be joining us in the pub afterwards?
Yeah, something like that. We'll be around for a little bit and maybe walk to the pub. Yeah, brilliant. Walk that way. Yeah.
So this brings us to the end of London Accessibility number 25. Our next one is in 2 weeks' time. We've got a brilliant lineup again. So we've got Marty Sutton. It's going to be quite developer focused. So Marty Sutton is going to be doing like a live demo of a React app, making that accessible. And Matty's going to be doing a talk about landmarks and a plugin that he's created. So that's really exciting. Really looking forward to handing over to Andy, who's going to be hosting. So give him all your support and do spread the word. Let's get as many bums on seats as possible. This is probably the lowest turnout that we've had, but that's my bad because I didn't for a second think that Thursday is the day before a bank holiday and everyone's on holiday. So to get 77 people is still amazing. So thank you for coming. I'd like to say a massive thank you again to our sponsors, to Barclays for the food, the drink, the live stream, the captions. Please thank them. Huge thanks to Orla from MyClearText with the incredibly fast and efficient speech-to-text. Thanks to Meetup Video for the live stream. Hopefully we've had lots of people watching from home. Thanks to Ludo for the audio. Thanks for Ben for helping out on the door. Thanks for Raf for making it happen. Thanks for our amazing speakers, to Richard and to Annika, to Rose and to Bryn. Huge round of applause. Please do take any litter with you. Please take cans, bottles, put them in the bin. We're going to a pub called the Sir Christopher Hatton, which is 4 Leather Lane. It's literally a 5-minute walk. Hope to see you there. Thank you very much.